An Introduction to the Judicial Branch by Christina Zunatto. The United States government consists of three branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the much overlooked judicial branch. It doesn't matter if you're watching MSNBC, Fox, or even The Daily Show. The majority of the media today focuses on the executive and legislative branch of government. The reason for the lack of interest and attention on the Supreme Court was best stated by Alexander Hamilton when he said the court carries neither the power of the purse or the sword. The judicial branch is a very important aspect of American government, and also a very powerful branch. But first we need to understand what the judicial branch is. The judicial branch consists of the Supreme Court. On the Supreme Court, there are 9 justices, referred to as Supreme Court justices, who are appointed by a president and approved by Congress. A president can appoint anyone to be a Supreme Court justice. They do not need to have a background as being a judge in the past. Now, with that being said, presidents tend to like to appoint people who have the same political beliefs that they do. Even though politics are not supposed to play a role in the judicial process, they tend to. The reason why presidents appoint people who have the same or similar political ideology as themselves is that the term in office that a Supreme Court justice serves is longer than that of the president's. So by appointing a justice with similar beliefs to you, that would ensure that your beliefs would stay alive in the judicial branch of government even after you, as president, left office. So you might be asking yourself right now, who are these people and why do they matter to me? The Supreme Court decisions that have been made have directly impacted the lives of millions of American people and continues to impact us to this day. The controversial case of Plessy v. Ferguson decided that separate but equal entities were acceptable as a form of segregation. It was not until 1955, with the passing of Brown v. Board of Education I and Brown v. Board of Education II, that segregation was not acceptable even in circumstances where separate but equal facilities were allowed. After the Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka I and II, the American public was in an outrage. They could not believe that desegregation was going to be forced throughout the nation. Now it is hard to imagine a world where segregation would be acceptable. Thanks to the Supreme Court, we don't have to live in a segregated world anymore. While Brown v. Board of Education is a very famous Supreme Court case, it is not the only Supreme Court case that affects people on a day-to-day basis. We're all familiar with the Miranda rights. They're the rights that are read to you when you're arrested by a police officer. You might recognize them as they start out with: you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and you have the right to an attorney. These Miranda rights were not written in the Constitution. However, they were decided that they had to be said by police officers by the Supreme Court. Another court decision by the Supreme Court that affects Americans on a day-to-day basis and is the cause of much controversy and debate is Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was a court decision that decided that a woman had a right to choose if she wanted to have an abortion or not. But these Supreme Court cases that we are all so familiar with and that affect us on a daily basis do not happen once a decade. They happen every day. So who knows, maybe in the amount of time that you've spent listening to this and reading, a court case may have just been decided that will change your life forever.